is Georgia Southern Football 90, featuring the defending NCAA National Champion, Georgia Southern Eagles. This program is brought to you by Team Baden Isuzu. We are the competition. And by Atlantic Cellular. It's for you, Savannah. Now here's your host, Bill Edwards, and Georgia Southern University head football coach, Tim Stowers.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the first official Georgia Southern Football 90 show. We did a preseason show last week, of course, but this is the first one officially with new head coach Tim Stowers as we get ready for the Valdosta State game. Behind me in Tim Stowers' office, of course, 3 national championship trophies and the coach himself. Tim, I guess you might be as nervous as the players going into your first game as head coach.
Bill, I don't feel too bad right now. I'm kind of excited. You know, the honeymoon has been on for about 9 months now or longer. I'm kind of ready to get on with the marriage instead of the honeymoon.
All right, speaking of the marriage, Valdosta State comes in here and everybody thinks, well, you know, we beat them pretty good last year. Was it 31-10 or something like that? Sometimes final scores are not indicative of how hard it was to play the football game.
Well, they had a running back, Ramon Allen, that rushed for over 100 yards against us last year. And we had the lowest yardage output that we had all season against Valdosta State. So we have a lot to improve on from last year's game.
There's also, you know, I mean, you can never predict rivalries, and these guys come in here, they're from Georgia, and they've never liked Georgia Southern that much anyway, and they're going to want to knock us off, especially at Paulson Stadium.
They've got a great incentive. They got revenge as an incentive, and if they can come in to Paulson Stadium, Glenn Mott Field, and beat Georgia Southern, it would probably be the greatest victory in Valdosta State history. We have a young offensive line. I think it's now time to not stop talking about that young offensive line and start saying, hey, man, it's time to get the job done on Saturday.
This looks like the toughest schedule Georgia Southern's ever had. I would think today's ball game is probably going to be as good a test to get you started as any.
This is the toughest schedule that Georgia Southern has ever played. There's no doubt about it. But the thing about it, we've got to have tunnel vision. We can't look past Valdosta State. We don't even know who we play after we play Valdosta State. We play Valdosta State this Saturday at 1 o'clock, and we cannot look past them. We cannot afford to look past them. We can't think that we're Georgia Southern and we can go out there on the field and throw our blue jerseys out on the field and expect Valdosta State to lay down on the ground.
Okay. Tim, best of luck to you. We'll see you after the ball game.
Well, I appreciate it. We're going to try to put a team on the field that you'll be proud of.
Okay, I'm sure you will. Tim Stowers, the new head football coach here at Georgia Southern, and we're going to be back with the first half highlights of the Valdosta State contest right after this. The new decade and a new era of Georgia Southern University football began on a hot 91-degree Georgia afternoon that felt about 100 degrees above that. The Eagles came out looking fired up as usual. 3 national championship banners flapping in the hot breeze as the respective captains met at midfield for the coin toss.
For the white, 28's going to handle it for the blue. I'm going to let it drop in the air. Heads is called. Tails it is. Blue wins the toss. He likes the third or second. Hand the thing. Take it out of the option.
With that, the Eagles kicked off the Tim Stowers era at Georgia Southern. Don Norton booted it a country mile. At first, the defense didn't budge. Tailback Raymond Allen was cut down by Mike West and Giff Smith after only 2 yards, with Mike giving us his best Major League umpire impression, saying, "You're out." It was the second play of that game that gave us more of an idea of how the afternoon would go, as Allen went off the right side for 7 yards and near first down. But when a procedure penalty cost the Blazers 5, quarterback Ty Cottle went to the air for the first time and hit Marcus Copeland coming out of the backfield. Had Marcus been able to hold on to it, would have worked great. So on 4th and 5, Brian Chestnut came in to punt it to the Eagles, and he just managed to get it away. Georgia Southern was in business at their own 38, superb field position from which to start the new season. But Eagle euphoria turned to stunned disbelief when Raymond Grove's first pitch to Carl Miller went between his legs, and Valdosta State's Danny Metcalf pounced on it with glee. Raymond Allen got the first down call and found a 10-yard hole in the GSU line that was finally plugged by Mark Giles. After that, however, the Blazers couldn't budge. Allen ran into Steve Busaletti and Tim Brown 3 yards behind the line of scrimmage, and after a second down pass fell incomplete, a third down try was even worse as Busaletti and Shane Maxwell closed in on Cottle like heat-seeking missiles. The Blazers looked like they were going to attempt a 49-yard field goal, but instead faked it, trying to get GSU into a hole. The strategy failed, however, when Jack McTire's punt rolled into the end zone. From there, Eagle faithful were given every indication that the Southern offense would get the job done. Joe Ross bulldozing ahead on 2nd and 6 for the needed first down yardage. And on 2nd and 5 from the 35, Raymond went deep to Darrell Hopkins, wide open. But Clifford Scott and Darrell met prematurely for one of the most obvious violations since the invasion of Kuwait. Raymond stayed with the air game as he fired to Terrence Sorrell in the flats for 13 more yards down to the Valdosta State 38. Joe Ross almost broke it up the middle with another 6 yards, and the Eagle Express appeared to be on track, only to be derailed on the ensuing play. Raymond got sandwiched between 2 defenders, the ball popped out, and the Blazers' Marcus Walker was on it at the 29. It was not what a football expert would describe as an awesome display of execution by either team. Georgia Southern right guard John Wilson summed it up.
Yeah, they seem to be a little more fired up than we did at the beginning of the game, but a W's a W, and we'll take it any way we can have it. Well, I played on the offensive line, and we got a young group, and it's just we all got to get used to playing with each other together and get a lot. This is the best thing. They say a team progresses between the first and second game the most, and we hope that's going to be our case.
With less than 4 minutes to go in the first quarter, the Eagle Express finally began to regain its old form. Raymond fired to Carl Miller for 10 yards. And then the much-awaited option as Raymond pitched to Darrell Hopkins on the right corner. An additional 12 yards up to their own 39. And the scoreless first quarter came to an exciting conclusion when Gross called his own number on a quarterback draw for 16 big yards through the middle. As the second quarter got underway, the Gross air attack continued with a 15-yard strike to Darrell Belzer down to the enemy 35. Lester Eford ate up 12 more yards on runs of 8 and 4 respectively. On 2nd and 7 from the Valdosta State 20, Gross scrambled for an additional 9 yards. It looked like Joe Ross was going to score a touchdown on the next play as he burst off right tackle for 10 more down to the Blazer 1. And watch it again from the defensive perspective as Joe came cutting off the right side right at the Blazer defense. 1st and goal, Georgia Southern. The second time was the charm from there. Joe stuck it in sort of sideways, and the Eagles had their initial TD of the 1990 campaign. The next time Georgia Southern got its hands on the ball, it looked like the Eagle Express was clickety-clacking again thanks to the efforts of Lester Eford. And another pass to Darrell Belzer as Southern made it all the way up to midfield. Joe Ross then made a great move to the outside, bad knee and all, as he took Raymond's pitch, turned the corner, and got 8 more yards, but there wasn't much more. So what was the problem with the option on Saturday?
Well, they were making us give the ball on the inside veer. You know, that was their plan, make us go the long road to a touchdown. We didn't get great field position a lot of the time because they didn't turn the ball over at all.
Well, they forced us to run inside, which put a lot of pressure on our young offensive line, and you know, they slowed us down. They played good. I think they wanted a little more.
Yeah, they came in and played a good game. You know, I can't take anything away from them. They took our outside game away from us, and we had to drop back and pass the ball. And, you know, they let us run it inside, and we took advantage of that. Then they kind of stymied that a little bit. But
the coaches then decided to try David Kuhl's range early, but his 57-yard attempt came up about 3 yards short, giving Valdosta State the ball only 60 yards away from the tying score. And Ty Cottle did exactly that. He and his staff went right to work. A screen pass out to Ramon Allen clicked for 12 yards before Jim Mutimer could stop him. Mixing it up well, Cottle next zipped it right over the middle to split in Dexter Holliday for a baker's dozen down to the Georgia Southern 32, where Mike West brought the proceedings to a halt. Cottle continued to baffle the Georgia Southern defense as he avoided more pursuit. Cocked and fired to Reginald Davis, who ate up another 21-yard chunk of real estate before Mark Giles and Shane Maxwell could stop him at the 12. 2 more Ramon Allen carries did the trick. 9 yards to the right on a nifty carry, and then a pitch to Ramon coming around the left corner left the Eagle defense in a state of shock, to say nothing of the rest of the GSU faithful, as we all scratched our heads at halftime wondering why we were in a 7-7 tie. There are some other changes at Georgia Southern these days. We'll talk with Nate Hirsch about them at halftime. That is our first halftime guest this year, Nate Hirsch, who not only is the voice of the Eagles, but Nate, you have a new position this year. One of the reasons we're talking to you about that. Saturday was the climax of a special weekend for a special man. Eric Russell and his former letterman at Georgia Southern gathered in special tribute. We realized then that what a treasure he was to us all. There was, however, nothing to treasure in the way the second half started for Georgia Southern. On the third play, Raymond Gross and Joe Ross missed an exchange deep in Eagle territory, and Valdosta State was in business at the GSU 33. It looked grim as Ty Cottle, showing more cool than Batman, avoided the blitz here and hit Dexter Holliday over the middle for 16 yards right down to the Eagle 15. Ramon Allen got 5 more. Could the famous Eagle defense be crumbling? But as if by some minor miracle, the question was answered 2 plays later. Mark Giles forced Allen to fumble, and in one of the most amazing turnarounds ever, Rodney Oglesby picked it up at the 3, and Rodney was off on a magic carpet ride. 97 yards to glory, the longest return of a fumble recovery for a touchdown in Georgia Southern football history. This, of course, is too good to enjoy just once. Watch again as Giles hits Allen from the side, dislodging the ball. And Rodney is there to scoop it up and is off on his 97-yard trek to pay dirt.
I mean, we talked Wednesday and Thursday to the football team about somebody making the play. Somebody making the play on the kicking game, somebody making the play on offense, somebody making the play on defense. And Rodney Oglesby probably, I mean, those are 2 biggest plays I've seen out of him since he's been at Georgia Southern.
He shined today, didn't he? Yeah. Rodney had an excellent ball game, and you know, that's the credit to him. He's playing with a cast. He was doing that with basically one hand. So, you know, he's a great cornerback, and you know, when you have people making the play, it's easy to get a win.
Well, that play has to be attributed to whoever knocked the ball loose, because I could have been around the ball, but if it didn't come out, I wouldn't have made the touchdown. So whoever knocked the ball loose deserves all the credit for that play. Sort of close to E by the time I got near the end zone, but I had to push it out because there was no need to make half the play, and I finished it off. So I was just glad to make the play.
Rodney, with the exception of the Valdosta State fans, coaches, and players, you're not alone. Rodney, however, was not through saving the Eagles on this 1st of September, but let's take things in chronological order. The Blazers were now down 14-7, and you'd think they'd be a bit demoralized, but think again. They kept on coming up with a big play. Ty Cottle was brilliant, firing to Dexter Holliday on 3rd and 8 for 11 yards before Jim Mutimer and Shane Maxwell could stop him at the Blazer 47. And if you like that one, you'll love this. Cottle Airlines doubled it with a 22-yard flight to Ramon Allen to the Eagle 31. Another 3rd and long situation found Cottle doing it once more. This time, a 19-yard strike to flanker Gary Thornton as he mixed his plays brilliantly. The Blazers were again deep in enemy territory at the GSU 12, and guys like middle linebacker Mike West and defensive end Giff Smith were walking around, hands on hips, wondering what in the world the number was on that truck that kept hitting him. And although they stiffened when they had to, forcing the Blazers to go for a field goal, it was hardly a moral victory.
A lot of that comes back to me. I need to focus more on my pass drops and on my getting back under the curl and doing my job as a pass defender more so than working on the run and stopping the run. That's that's a lot my fault that them nickel and diming us to death down the field.
They're a quality team. They came into play. Every team we face is going to have that on us. Everybody wants Georgia Southern. Want to be the first one to stop a streak. I'm not taking anything away from them. They played well today. They played real well. But us as a unit, we got to get back and play like Georgia Southern. We got to get 11 people around the ball. Defense came up with some key plays, but overall we played poorly. And, we just got to realize that, this season we ain't done nothing yet. We got to prove everything over again. And I think everybody kind of got that today.
But you did what you had to do when you had to do it, though.
Well, we won, and that's part of it. I'll take a win every week, no matter how ugly it is. But I don't think anybody's happy with it. But, wish Coach Stowers' first win could have been pretty, but hopefully next week could be a second, and it'd be a nice one.
The fourth quarter began with it looking like the Eagles were finally going to blow the Blazers' fire out. Raymond Gross, looking like the Raymond of '89, firing a 17-yard strike to Darrell Belzer. On 2nd and 14, Raymond found Carl Miller wide open over the middle for 24 yards, down to the VSC 23. And when Joe Ross went around right in for another 17 to the Valdosta State 3, 1st and goal, it seemed like a lead pipe cinch the Eagles were taking a fire hose to the Blazers. But it was not to be. Southern had to settle for a Mike Dowis field goal instead, and a meager touchdown lead with over 7.5 minutes to play. But maybe, just maybe, the Southern defenders could do it again. And indeed they did. Even though holding was temporarily suspended as a violation Saturday afternoon, Steve Buceletti did manage to overcome it. He clobbered Cottle from behind and separated Ty from the pigskin. And left tackle Tim Brown was on it like grabbing for the last filled canteen in the desert. Filled with Eagle Creek water, of course. The Eagles were in business inside the 20. But Southern had to settle for another field goal thanks to a superb effort by the Valdosta State defense. Only this time it wasn't a field goal. For the first time in a month of Saturdays, Mike Dowis aired, hooking it to the left, and the score remained 17-10.
I guess I want to blame it on the first game jitters, it's hard to say, but biggest change from the first game to the second game, and hopefully we'll go up to Murfreesboro with a better attitude.
Yeah, it's good to get that one under your belt anyway. Everybody's been talking about what if and who does this and who does what, and so it's good to get that one out of the way.
Definitely, Coach Stowers, we've been preparing all preseason, and people question our ability as a team without Coach Russell, and hopefully we proved a little something today.
The pressure was still on. Back came the Blazers like a dreaded in-law you can't shake. Was there no stopping these guys? But it was Rodney to the rescue once again. Ty Cottle faded to pass, fired to Ramon Allen. Allen got up and just managed to tip it enough so Rodney could get a hand on it. A hand was all Rodney needed, was all he had. But with still over a minute to play, Raymond on 3rd and long managed to scramble out of a hole, and the Eagle Talons clung to a very tough win. And Coach Stowers will have the final say-so after this.